sections 6.2, 6-2-2, 6-2-6, and 6-2-37. So a couple things with the definitions, we went through, and since we were making some amendments, we went through and cleaned up and removed some definitions that weren't needed anymore. They were holdovers from when we operated the steam plant, and there were certain things that the steam plant couldn't accept. But now we don't reference those materials anywhere in our ordinance, so we just never took the definitions out. Now we did. The second amendment is the 626. This is to better define refuse and solid waste on premises. Currently, that is lumped into abandonment of items, and when we get notification about those type of items, we go to the property, we make notification. They have a 10-day window to remove the items, and then we come back after 10 days. If they're still there, then we have processes in place where we hire a contractor, remove those items, and then bill the property owner. This amendment adds in the ability for refuse and solid waste to have a shorter time frame. So instead of the 10-day waiting period, this would allow for solid waste and refuse that we're made aware of that are in public view on premises to have a 24-hour window. So if we would get a call on a Monday morning, our staff would go to the property. If we would witness it, we would make contact with the property owner, leave a violation notice. They have 24 hours to remove the items from public view. We go back the next day to inspect to make sure the items are removed. If they're not, we can then remove them and invoice the property owner, but hopefully within that 24-hour window, they're able to clean up the property and remove that solid waste and refuse from public view. The abandonment of items section is still at play in the ordinance, and that more relates to furniture, inoperable vehicles, larger type items that would be outside of the definition of solid waste and refuse.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
I got a call about that in particular, and I think there's a little confusion. So could you clarify what would be refuge and solid waste? Refuse and solid waste?
General, bottles, cans, plates, solo cups, anything that you would trash, anything that you would find in a trash can, essentially that would be dumped in the front yard. Bags, grocery bags, food waste. I don't know. I'm trying to.
Yeah. So that needs to be picked up, and that has a 24-hour window.
Correct.
But the 10-day window for removal is for like Wednesday pickup type things.
Or like most things that we see are like couches.
Yes.
If someone have a couch in the front yard, you can't have a couch in the front yard. So neighbors would call, we would go out on a reactive basis and say, you have 10 days to move the couch and get rid of it. Or an inoperable vehicle, place set, something along those lines that isn't allowed to be in that public view.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think just kind of hypothetically speaking, if a resident is near some place where there might be parties, there might be refuse as defined here, strewn across that that area.
24 hours to clean it up.
You no longer have 10 days to pick it up. Often the case, there might be another event within those 10 days to go. So I think residents who, might be subject to having neighbors where that happens.
Right, and this is reactive, so it's not that we drive by and check on these things. If we get phone calls, we have staff in our solid waste division that can go out, inspect, and follow our ordinances to make sure the areas are handled properly.
Right, so it still requires, as we do for all things, for someone to kind of call in and make notice of that for staff.
And then the last change in 6237 is to amend the bulk refuse collection to match what our bulk refuse collection will be starting January 5th. We're going away from the Wednesday collection to be the scheduled on your trash day. We're just lining up the ordinance to match what our new procedure will be.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to call out what I see in here. The disposable refuse with some good examples, disposable cups, beverage, food, and so on, as you say. The violation shall be deemed an immediate public nuisance. Is that an important distinction, or, I mean, that was what gives it the 24-hour threshold, right? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Hartman, so the word refuse like changed from junk, garbage, or solid waste. So, don't you think like the word refuse will be a broad meaning? Like I can claim that this is a refuse. I mean, there's no specific. Don't you think that it will be a broad meaning for the word refuse?
We provided a definition for that in the definition section that we amended. So we would have, I don't know the specific wording of how, as I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but we did try to put some specificity to what refuse is in the definitions, and that's what will follow when our staff gets called to a property.
And the other thing is that the 24. And the other thing is that the 24 hours. Don't you think that this is a short notice?
Well, typically, the way that it would work, if we would get a phone call on a Monday, our folks wouldn't potentially have time to get out to the site until sometime Monday afternoon. We see the issue is still present. We notify the property owner of the issue. We give them a full 24 hours. We come back out Tuesday afternoon. If they still haven't made progress I'm sure if our staff goes out and we see they're attempting, we're not gonna immediately send the contractor in, right? So then that's another 24 hours. Then if we go there and they have made no attempt, then it's still gonna be another day or so until we can get our contractor engaged to go to the property. Within that time, they may be able to get the area clean to meet the ordinance, and there would be no need for our intervention with the contractor. So, and this is very similar to how our sidewalk snow removal policy works as well. With certain storm events, we have 24 hours or 36 hours to begin to clear the sidewalk along your property. Generally, it says 24, but in most cases, it's 48 to 72 hours that they have before we'll actually have the contractor on site. I think this ordinance will work very similar to that. It just gives that extra nudge to the property owner to say, this is a nuisance. We need to start to work to clean the property up.
I think that we are sending a harsh message for like JMU students. Usually they have like parties, and I don't think that 24 hours are good enough for them. So I don't think that they will be feeling that they are welcome here in our city. And I mean, 10 days, I think it's realistic, and it will be a good time like to remove anything. So I don't want to like have people like our students think that we are tightening our ordinances towards them, and just to have them feel they are not welcome here.
Well, that's just like if I were to have a party and I would leave the cups and stuff strewn about my yard. I think it's expected by my neighbors that I would just pick it up in a timely manner. They shouldn't have to look at it for 10 days. I don't think this is geared just towards students. It's just what you do. You pick
No,
yourself up.
I'm with you. I would have to respectfully disagree, because if, it doesn't matter who it is, if you have trash in your yard, I think 24 hours is enough time to get the trash out your yard. I mean, and that goes for anybody. That doesn't, I mean, I know when we say red Solo cups, everybody's thinking that it's our students or whatever, but, I mean, I know other people that have parties that have red Solo cups, so that, it just, for me, 10 days to clean up your yard,
It's a lot.
that's a lot. That's a lot of time. And it should be, what do you want your neighborhood
To look like.
to look like, right?
I think the problem with time like that is with the refuse that's just described here, food wrappers, in 10 days, that food wrapper is no longer on that person's property.
Right, it's next
Right,
door. It's
you know,
across the street, right.
and so I think that's something of concern. You know, it also gets into our system, it goes into our, you know, our sewers. I think, you know, that is a big problem for us, that goes there. I do, you know, appreciate making sure that this isn't a punitive system, you know, that we're not, you know, proactively, and we aren't being proactive looking for folks, it's when there's a call that comes in, but it's not used in a punitive way, and I think that's, you know, a real concern. I don't think, I'm not suggesting that our Public Works Department would act in that way, but I understand the concern about people thinking it could be used punitively, and I guess, you know, we'll see how this goes forward. I would trust that when folks are called, when Public Works is called to go out and say, hey, this is happening, we see the trash here, do you have a plan to pick this up? And I would hope that would be the approach, and you know, you have 24 hours to get this cleaned up, can you do that or not? And would have some leniency, but as well as saying, you also have 24 hours, you have neighbors, people expect this to be cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean,
And if they're repeat offenders, I think, you know,
yeah, we can be too lenient. I mean, this is trash. It'll attract, you know, rodents and I mean, I'm not understanding why this is a long conversation.
One of the,
Trash.
one of the questions, sorry to interrupt you. One of the questions I had was, what if a person is out of town? About, like, say someone dumps trash in your yard, and you're out of town and you don't know about it, and you get necessarily fined.
There would be other ways of communicating with that property owner. So if the knock on the door wasn't working, we're just not gonna say, we tagged your door and come back a day later to send you a bill from a contractor. I mean, we have phone numbers through the billing system, email addresses. Christopher and Reggie do this across the city. They're very, very talented at doing it, and they're great communicators. So we're gonna do our best to reach out to those property owners, let them know of the issue. We're not just gonna put a tag on a door you may never use. And then you get a, and then you get a bill.
It says, I'm sorry, it says clear that the city will hire somebody to clean out and then send the invoice to the landlord. So even if he's not here, he'll be charged according to.
Well, we have some ability to, on when we say the notice was served. Right, I mean, if we try to make contact and they're not there, we're not gonna start the clock. We're gonna make sure they understand what's going on. So we'll try to phone call, email, revisit later in the afternoon and try to catch them at home. We're gonna do our best to contact those property owners. We're not just gonna go out and clean the property and send them a bill without giving them any notice or any type of way to avoid that cost.
Well, I had a sort of related issue that we are most often the passive recipients of trash being put in our yard, beer cans, plastic bags, all manner of stuff. I might not even know it's there. Somebody might call from the neighbors, I don't know. But then it is on me to clean up the trash out of my yard, even though I didn't put it there. Oh, well. Then I might have words with the neighbors.
Right, right, that would be. But again, I don't see this being one or two pieces of trash in someone's yard. I don't see us being inundated with phone calls to
Okay.
go around the city and do that. I think these are for the larger type of events that we do see issues with sometimes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Need a vote?
so I'll make a motion approving the ordinance amendment as presented, relating to Title VI, Chapter 2 of the Solid Waste Collection and Disposal provisions. I won't read through the rest of that. If that's,
We get the idea.
is that
Yeah, this one.
clear, City Attorney? Sure. As presented.
Second?
Any more discussion? Roll call, please, Pam.
Councilmember Al-Sadin,
No?
Councilmember Dent,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Fleming,
Aye.
Mayor Reed.
Aye. Okay, 7G.